Welcome, boys and girls. We're going to be bringing you the very strange incident between Sam Sevian and Hans Niemann. Now, this is the second kind of strange incident that Hans has been involved with, but let's do the instant replay here. Now it's black to move, and look what Sevian does. He picks up the king. Hey, give me back the king, fucker. But the top of the king is loose. Put it back, fucker. What's the matter with you? Hey, give it back, fucker. Hey, you wanna step outside now, men? No, asshole. Come on, chicken. Hey. He fucked me over. Now he starts adjusting the king a little bit. Now what the hell are you doing? The king's head was broke. See? The king's head was broke. You doofus, you fool. You're not supposed to pick up your opponent's king while he's on the move. You bitch, you punk. It looks to me that Hans is going to win that argument, hands down. Sevian had no reason, absolutely no reason to be picking up stuff. Now let's go over the game, which was kind of a good game. Sevian had white, Hans had black. Now we have a queen's gap decline. Now, what you young players want to notice is that Hans does not do anything spectacular in the opening. He's just such a solid player, and he relies on his strong middle game and end game to get him the wins. You know, you don't have to play real sharp openings. You know, your goal in the opening is to get a good game, get a good middle game going. Now that's book. C5 has rarely been seen in the last few years, but now it's making a comeback. Now watch this move. That's the most modern move nowadays. They used to play knight d5, but after e4, white just has too much of a pawn center. So this move now is kind of revitalized theory. I don't think this is any good for black because of the isolated pawn. But of course, I may be wrong, you know. But I actually had this position as white before, as black before against Sevian in the 1980s, and his move was bishop g5, which looks right, but look at the move the computer came up with. This is the modern panacea here, even though it looks so weird. Black's next moves are forced for the next 10 moves. These are all book moves recommended by the computer. Now, I don't recommend any of you blindly follow the computer, but that's what they're doing. This is the move this is not Hans' move, this is the computer's move. And again, they're blitzing. You know, they're still into theory here. Now that's best. Great move. It prevents the rook from coming to the d file and preserves a very strong piece. So this is the move that Jeff came up with. But it's still all theory. Now that is not a move you're gonna find on your own. But it's a computer move. Now the idea is to protect your pawn center. Now this is forced to kind of break up the black's pawn center. And this is the move that the computer came up with. Now the next moves are going to be forced. And now instead of knight c5, which the computer likes, he plays knight f6, which is probably still book. Now the real mystery is why, h6 wasn't played here. Now the computer recommends here h6. Now that looks right. Are they out of book? I think they're probably out of book by now. But it makes sense to get rid of your opponent's strong bishop. Now knight e2 is recommended here. Let's see what Sevian played here. Rook d1, are you kidding me? Is that a bluff? Or is that, is that something I should really be paying attention to? Now, the computer likes bishop h5, but yeah, bishop h5 might be right here, but Hans plays another move, bishop g4, which looks just as good. Now, if you try to win a piece with bishop takes knight, you got to realize that your knight is also hanging on c5, so it doesn't win anything, yet I get the feeling that white has enough counterplay at least to hold the position. And this looks to me like a draw because you have a strong bishop and you got 2 extra pawns. So I think that white should be okay here. Now Hans plays, see that rook on the 7th is so strong that you have to get rid of it. You have to get rid of the strong rook. Now if you play rook c7 here, that would be a blunder because now bishop e5 check wins back the exchange, and then it's hopeless because the rook is on the 7th and you have passivity. So that would be a blunder. So how can I make rook c7 work? Here's how. Rook check, and now rook c7. Now there's no bishop e5 check anymore. And so now the computer recommends here rook g4, which I find to be kind of weird. The rule when you're the exchange down is always keep the rook if you can, because that may prevent the king from penetrating and may produce like a perpetual at some point. So that is the recommended move, and the computer likes rook g4, and Sam found it. And now white has pressure. I mean, black has pressure because this is backward. But I might even consider f4 in this position to see if I can anchor the bishop here. But the problem with f4 is rook e4. Rook e4 is too strong. But I'd love to anchor the bishop either on g7 or e5. Let's see what happened here. a4, I don't know about that move. It's kind of a weird move. I was really thinking about maybe h6 or king g2 maybe. Anyway, white has problems because the rooks are active and this pawn's backward, so white is struggling for a draw here. b6, computer likes a6. Okay, that's necessary to anchor the bishop. Good move. Now it's clear that white is better, black is better, excuse me. Now this is not good for white because the bishop may be unseated at some point with a timely b4. And then this b5 pawn becomes a dangerous passer. So black is making the most of it here. That's a real lemon. He should probably go to g7 right away. Bishop g7. And white should be able to hold the draw. But black has always got some advantage. That pin is very dangerous. But white can always get out of it with rook check. So maybe it's not a big deal. black is getting the initiative. Uh-oh. And now he wastes a crucial tempo. I'm not sure the rook check is really necessary here. The computer likes the rook check. I don't like the rook check. I feel like it wastes a tempo. Now this is a move that most humans would play, but the computer actually goes back. So Hans is clearly not getting, assistance from the computer. Now F4 looks perfectly okay here. Now we're getting into a little time trouble here. This is a crucial move. Do I take on F2, which is what most people would do and what the computer likes, or do I check here and try to sack the exchange? Maybe on H6. So Hans, I have a lot of respect for him as an endgame player. He's a very, very, very strong endgame player. So let's see what he did here. This is very unusual here. Sorry guys, I'm going too fast. But anyway, this is Hans' idea, that I'm going to sack the exchange. But clearly Rook A5 deserves consideration. This is an important pawn. But Hans has this interesting idea. See, the only way I can really make progress is to eliminate the strong bishop. So I could sack the exchange now, or I could sack the exchange by taking on H6. So let's see what happens here. Okay, now the computer's recommending Rook F2, which I think is still good here. But this was Hans' idea. Sack the exchange, gotta take with the rook. And now, this is the point where, with black to move, Sevian picked up Hans' king. So, can you do that? No, it's unprecedented what Sevian did. I've never seen that before in my 20 or 30 years of tournament experience. Never ever seen someone pick up the opposing person's king and actually take it off the board. This is completely weird. So I really don't know why he did it, to tell you the truth. Now we have a race. Now although black is a pawn down, notice that this pawn on H2 is not a racing pawn. Neither is the A7 pawn. So these two pawns are not really that important in the position. The only pawns that have real importance are the ones on F5 and B4 because they're closer to queening. So, sorry guys, I'm going too fast here. So in a race you have to keep pushing. So, and now this is a good move because it sort of gives white the opportunity to blunder. Now when I give lessons to expert level players, I always explain to them that when you're in a race, do not stop to take unimportant pawns. And this is something that most masters know. And so we have Sam Sevian playing a very basic and elementary blunder of taking time to safeguard a pawn which isn't even involved in the race. And so this is completely incomprehensible to me, this lemon. Look at what the computer says now. Four pawn blunder. That's a terrible blunder. Now there's no defense and black's going to go on to win. Now, to me, it doesn't matter whether you go to A1 or you go to A2, it's going to lead to the same position, I believe. Now, these moves are all forced, clearly. Now, if black queens the pawn, it's going to be a game, because this pawn has great strength, has great value. So it's gonna be probably gonna be a draw if you queen the pawn right away. But look at Han's move, great move, because now you have to push. You gotta push, and now I've got this, and now I'm just gonna take your pawn, and the game is over at this point. 5.6 decisive advantage for black. Give me that. Now, if you take rook takes pawn, it's lost, because I'm gonna take your A pawn, and then I'm gonna end up winning, sacrificing my rook for your pawn, and end up winning the king pawn ending. So you have to take the rook, and now, if it weren't for these pawns being on the board and this pawn being kind of weak, white might have a draw with the rook versus the queen and the pawn. You know, in fact, I think white would have excellent drawing chances, but look what happens. Now this pawn over here is just a ripe target, and I don't think white is able to hold that pawn. Now the king starts coming in. Now, you know, it's just a matter of black, you know, getting the time. Now I don't see see if now I try to take the pawn with check. You have king g6, and then the pawn cannot be taken. So care must be, you know, there's still must be some care here. Okay, now he's finally gathering up that pawn, and now the game is pretty much over. But still, some technique is required here. And now at this point, Sevian decided to throw in the towel and resign, because this pawn is going to cost him the rook. Overall, it was a very good game, but white misplayed the end game badly. And anyway, Hans has now got a plus score and back over 2,700. It's been a great tournament for him with four wins. And thanks everybody for watching.